Hi guys, this is Jacob from Moonwalk, and hello to Beth from the channel B-Side Records. This is my entry video into your 100 subs contest. I am a very new subscriber to your channel. I actually did not, I have to admit, know about the existence of your channel until I saw my good friend Steve Carlson post an entry video. And I loved his video, and I checked out your channel, and I really like what you're doing. You do some really interesting videos where you don't show yourself, but you have some really amazing clips and some amazing photos and stills in your videos, and you do that really very clever. I subscribed to your channel, and I wanted to do an entry to your video, or sorry, to your contest, and this is it. Mainly because at least for let's say two and a half of the three questions asked, we completely agree. This is it. Let's do this. Okay, Beth. So you have three questions in your contest. The first one is to show anything Queen related, as Queen is your favorite band. I'm gonna be doing a lot of bad English because I'm in Denmark and English is not my first language, so bear with me, Beth. I have a stack of records here. I'm not a massive Queen fan. I like them, and if I'm out looking for music and I see something that I don't have already, look it up on Discogs and check it out. Do I have it or do I not? Do I not have it? And if it's something that I don't have, I buy it. So I've picked up a few Queen items, and I'm just gonna show I'm just gonna show them all to you. So chronologically, the first one I have and the oldest one that I have is A Day at the Races. Pretty beat up copy cover wise. The record looks and plays okay, I guess. So that's the oldest Queen item I have in my collection. Let me just get this sorted here. I'll do like this. Next Queen item is Jazz. Many others have shown this already. I also have this album. I really like Fat Bottom Girls is on this, I believe, and Don't Stop Me Now, Bicycle Race. Yeah, some really good songs on this. Next up is a single, a 7-inch, which is I Want to Break Free. Oh, there's a lot of glare. Let me take it out of the sleeve here. I Want to Break Free, 7-inch single. B-side is a song called Machines, or Back to Humans. I've not heard that song, I have to admit. But yeah, I have this. And also the album that followed that single, which is The Works. Is the other song on here? No, Humans. Machines. Oh yeah, Machines are Back to Humans is also on this one. Well, I guess that just... I have to admit that I have not listened to this album. I know obviously the hits, but I've not listened to the complete album, so I guess that's on my to-do list. Next up is another 7-inch from '86. Friends Will Be Friends. I'll show it to you here. These 7-inches, I guess I just picked up at flea markets or estate sales or something. And they weren't that, relatively cheap. Friends Will Be Friends, backed with 7 Seas of Rye. And the album that Friends Will Be Friends is on is A Kind of Magic. Again, an album with some really great singles, and an album that I haven't heard yet. I'm sorry, but I'm being very honest here. Next up, I guess a live album that followed the Kind of Magic album is the Live Magic. A double album, I believe. No, it's not a double album. It's a single album, but it has all of the big Queen hits here live, and Freddie Mercury in his legendary yellow jacket here. So yeah, there's that one. And the next one I have is The Miracle. My Discogs says that I have 2 copies of this one. I don't know where the other one is. Maybe I've sold it. I think that maybe I have. Yeah, this one has Breakthrough. It has The Miracle, obviously. It has I Want It All. It has The Invisible Man. There were a lot of singles from this album. This came out when I was 12 years old, and I really started to listen to music from outside Denmark. So I basically grew up with the hits from this album. And the last album I have is the Greatest Hits 2 compilation, which came out. When did this come out? Well, it came out either just around Freddie's death or just after. This was released in 1990. What? 1991. So it was the year that he passed, and I think maybe this was released just around the time that he actually passed away. He died on November 24th, 91, I believe. That's just one of the dates that just always sticks with me. This must have been released around Christmas time of 91, so it must have been released around the time that he passed away. I remember seeing a music video, the last one he did, which came out like right before he passed away, and I was shocked to see him, Freddie, how he looked. I mean, I guess it was already out that he was sick, and he was HIV positive, and he was suffering from AIDS. And then the music video came out for These Are the Days of Our Lives, and wow. The last item I have is actually the single that was released, I think in just before the Greatest Hits 2 album. There's a lot of glare, sorry. Bohemian Rhapsody, backed with These Are the Days of Our Lives. And then on the backside here, there's this text about how AIDS concerns us all, and that we must do everything we can to fight this horrible disease. Thankfully, they've come a long way with producing medicine that really allows people to, even though they are HIV positive, to live completely normal lives without any going into full-blown AIDS, I believe. They can also, if you're HIV positive today and you are on the right medication, you can also, I guess, have unprotected sex and not transfer the virus to your partner. So thankfully, we've come a long way. Well, the doctors, the smart people, have come a long way in creating medicine to get rid of this horrible disease. That was question number 1. Ended on a sad note. I'm sorry. We'll try to get more cheerful when we talk about soundtracks. So Beth, you love soundtracks, and that is the topic of your second question in your contest. What are your favorite soundtracks? I think that the movie that I remember the most from when I was a kid, and the songs also, and I like metal music, I like alternative rock, I like techno, I like everything, but I also am a big fan of disco, and this is just one of the greatest soundtracks ever made. And for a film that is actually really good. Saturday Night Fever, obviously the legendary movie with John Travolta, and the music by primarily Bee Gees. Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, If I Can't Have You by Yvonne Elliman, Walter Murphy's rendition of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, Boogie Shoes by Casey and the Sunshine Band, More Than a Woman by Tavares, Calypso Breakdown, Ralph McDonald. This is amazing. This is a really, really good soundtrack. Let me just get these straight. in the right order that I want to show them. Also, a soundtrack that I remember from when I was a kid is this one. This is the soundtrack for the movie Christiane F. And I'm gonna say it in German, Wir Kinder vom Bahnhof Zoo. Music by David Bowie. So this is an old German film from the late 70s or maybe even early 80s. This is from 81. The movie was made in 81. I don't know how well known this movie is in America. In Denmark, it is very well known, at least to people my age. I don't think that the kids today know it. But when I went to school, a big part of the when the schools were very much how do you say that, very much involved in or took responsibility rather in teaching the young kids to not do drugs. And one of the main arguments that they used in order to keep us from doing drugs was this movie. This movie is about a young girl called Christiane F. She's actually a real person. I mean, obviously this is an actress, but the story is real. The movie is based on a book written by the woman who is depicted in this film, who, as a young woman, was really intrigued by the underground scene in Berlin, and traveled to Berlin and got in with the very, very wrong crowd and started doing drugs. Started smoking weed, taking pills, and then cocaine, and then I guess ending up shooting heroin. And this movie depicts her story, and there are some really, really horrific scenes from when Christiane and her boyfriend do a cold turkey, and they leave. They just show everything. They leave nothing out, and there's a lot of vomit. To be honest with you, it's a really, really very, very graphic scene, and the movie was great. Is great, and what they did somehow, I think, I don't know how they did it, but David Bowie was, I mean, he was living in Berlin when it was recorded, the movie, and somehow they made an agreement with him to perform at fake concerts somewhere in Berlin, and just do some of his best songs. So you have I'll show you the track list here. You have the best songs from his Berlin albums. So you have Heroes, you have V2 Schneider, you have Boys Keep Swinging, you have Look Back in Anger, Station to Station even also, which is quite funny because I guess we all know that Bowie, when they did the Station to Station album, he was on a very strict diet of milk and cocaine himself, apparently. Sense of Doubt, just the best of the Berlin Bowie era, and he, you can see him here with the young woman. This is not a scene from the movie because she does not meet him in the movie, but she's a big Bowie fan, and yeah, you can see her here getting ready to shoot heroin. This is my first real meeting with 70s Bowie. When this was shown to us in school, I already knew about the Let's Dance Bowie, but I did not know about 70s Bowie. So I'm really, really grateful that my teacher in 4th or 5th or 6th grade or whenever showed this movie to us, because that's when I discovered how amazing Bowie is. So this is a really, really great soundtrack, and it just brings back a lot of memories watching that movie. Also, I've picked out way too many soundtracks here. I'm just gonna go through these very quickly, if possible. Beth, this is, I'm sure, the first video of mine you've ever seen, and I always say I'm gonna try and do it short, and it ends up being a 40-minute video. Amadeus, the movie about Mozart. with Tom Hulce, who got an Oscar. No, he did not. He was nominated for an Oscar, but If Mary Abraham, who plays Salieri in the movie, got an Oscar for Best Supporting Act, Best Supporting Actor, I guess. And you know, Mozart, you can't go wrong. There's also a movie made about Beethoven called My Immortal Beloved, and I have the soundtrack on CD. I can't find it at the moment. Sorry, my CDs are in a mess at the moment. Um, I actually like that even more. Both movie and soundtrack. Beethoven is my guy when it comes to classical music. But this is a great soundtrack if you love classical music. I'll also show. I'm not going to show that one. Um, some more. No, actually, I'm gonna show this one as well. I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. So this is the soundtrack for Clockwork Orange in a French edition. So it's Orange Mécanique, un film de Stanley Kubrick. You know, it's a French accent. Also, I think I have it on CD. Also, I have it on CD, but I did not find it. But yeah, Clockwork Orange, Kubrick. Also, wow, Kubrick. The last movie he ever made, Eyes Wide Shut, yeah, this is a CD. Sorry, Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. The movie was scolded by everyone when it came out. I absolutely freaking love this movie. It's just a weird avant-garde tour de force of Tom Cruise going through the night, being invited to weird sex orgies, and a murder has happened, and it's a roller coaster. It's a brilliant movie, and the soundtrack is freaking amazing. I don't know how much you can see here, but there's some jazz stuff, there's some classical stuff. There's Chris Isaak, "Baby Did a Bad Bad Thing." Wow, what a great song. My favorites on this one is the composer Jocelyn Pook. Maybe you can see this. She does some really amazing music on this one. Eyes Wide Shut, Kubrick. I also picked out, also found the CD with Hitchcock movie themes. So on here you have music from Psycho and North by Northwest and Marnie and Vertigo, and I love Hitchcock movies and the music as well. Obviously, this is Bernard Herrmann, if you say it in a in American or in English, but I guess he was French, so it's Bernard Herrmann. 90s soundtracks, you know, I'm a 90s kid. High Fidelity, obviously, brilliant movie, even better soundtrack. Trainspotting, very British, but very cool. Romeo and Juliet, and Moulin Rouge, Baz Luhrmann films. I love Baz Luhrmann. I don't know how many times I watched this movie when I was a kid. Yeah, countless times. I have two more. More recent soundtracks. The Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The Coen Brothers movie with George Clooney and John Turturro, and then the third guy, and then the woman. I'm bad with names. Sorry. Amazing soundtrack. Got a Grammy for Record of the Year that year. My favorite soundtrack of all has to be this one, the singles, with all of the bands from the grunge scene except Nirvana. But you have Pearl Jam, you have Alice in Chains, you have Mudhoney, you have Soundgarden, you have Chris Cornell solo, you have Mother Love Bone, you have Jimi Hendrix, you have the Love Mongers, which are Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart. Easily in history, the best soundtrack for the worst movie. The movie sucked big time, but the soundtrack was amazing. Yeah, I could go on for ages with, and I feel like I already have, with soundtracks. But that's what I wanted to show you with the soundtracks. So let's go on to the horror. So Beth, you love horror movies, and I am completely with you when it comes to horror movies. Maybe I watched a bit more horror movies when I was younger. I'm in my early 40s now, so um, I'm turning into that guy that likes jazz and likes espresso and likes French films with no subtitles, black and white from 1935. I'm becoming that hipster arty guy that I've always dreaded becoming. But yeah, I've always loved horror movies, and I remember when I was a kid, before my mom and dad got a VCR. What we did, my one of my older sisters and I, is that we rented what they called a movie box, which basically was a you know transportable VCR machine, or maybe it was Betamax. I don't. I think it was VCR. I think it was VHS. Sorry, I think it was a VHS machine that you could for some money, obviously you could borrow for 2 days, I think, and then you could take like 3 or 4 movies with you for a specific amount of money. And I watched every single horror movie that video rental shop slash junk food shop had on their shelves. I've seen every Friday the 13th, every Freddy Krueger, every Halloween, um, and watched them countless times. And by the time I reached adulthood, there was just no scary movie, no horror movie at all that could scare me anymore. So yeah, I've seen them all. One of my I think one of my favorite horror movies. There are all the Freddy Krueger ones. I'm gonna come back to him in a bit. I think my favorite horror movie, at least of newer movies, is The Grudge. And I prefer the American version to the Japanese version. Um, that is just so horrific. It has Sarah Michelle Gellar, and is it Freddie Prinze Jr.? I think also in the film. That was just really really great. I saw it in a movie theater with my wife, and there were 4 or 5 teenage girls sitting behind us, and they started screaming like 10 seconds before the scary scenes would get scary. And normally I'm not easy to scare, but I'm telling you, my pants were soiled when we left the theater, because not the film, but the young women behind us screaming just scared the shit out of me. Sorry. I saw that. That was a great movie. I want to recommend that. Also, other VC members, I saw Jeff Kempin, my buddy from Chicago, showed some Stephen King books. I want to show this one, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. It's not one of his well-known books. This is a book of short stories, but this is the very first book that I got in English. And there are actually quite a lot of good horror stories in here. I actually got it for my birthday. I can see there's a birthday card inside from my mom and dad. So they got me a horror book when I was, I don't know when this came out. I must have been 14 or 15 or something. Not horror, but it has some really horrific scenes in it. One of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite book of all time. And I know that I'm a maniac when I say this, but Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho, wow. Just an amazing book. I want to show this really cool thing, which is a DVD version of Saw. You know the Saw movies. This has movie 1 and 2. But you can see there's this blood bag in here. It's really old by now, so I think that this color inside, I'm just gonna take it out if I can, has probably dried up a bit. But let me just see if I can get it out even. This is not going to be easy. Yeah, there's this blood bag inside. So there's this color thing inside, so that when you flip it on the other side, the blood kind of pours. That's really cool, I think. My former job, I actually worked for a company that manufactured DVDs, and we did this Saw. This has Saw 1 and 2. We did this box here for a customer, and yeah, that was pretty awesome. I think that's a really, really cool effect, don't you? If the blood would start pouring, yeah, it kind of does. You can see it. Wow, that looks cool. And the final thing I want to show you in the horror section, coming back to My Man Freddy Krueger, I have this soundtrack here on vinyl for A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which, you know, it's always good, you know. As soon as you hear that 1, 2, he'll come for you, 3, 4, better lock your door, and so on, you probably know the rest. I don't have to remind you of that one. If you love horror movies, yeah, it's just a lot of great memories. So Beth, that is my very, very long response to your contest. I hope that you liked what you saw, and congratulations once more on reaching 100 subs. You're already at 140, I can see. So yeah, that's great. Congratulations, and see you soon. Bye-bye.